Hello, hello, hello. How are you guys doing this evening? Surprise, surprise. I am out here on the front porch this evening. It is cold. It is pretty cold out here, but I was sitting out here and I was actually checking my mail, and then I went and I talked to my neighbor across the street. Well, I talked to my neighbor, the husband, across the street. Then he went inside, and then as I was coming up, the wife came out, and so I was talking to her. And we were talking about cozy mysteries, and I was telling her about Shady Hollow, and I said, oh my god, I found the cutest cozy mystery. She kind of likes very, I don't want to say violent cozy mysteries, but she likes cozy mysteries that have, that are more, oh god, what's the word I want to say? They're more mysterious based, if that makes sense. Like a lot of shooting, a lot of like police officers. She likes those kind of cozy mysteries. She doesn't like so much the cozy, which is kind of like the opposite of a cozy mystery, but she likes like, you know, she really likes like Janet Ivanovich and things like that. And so anyway, but I said to her, I said, oh, I found this really cute cozy mystery series, but I don't think that you would like it. And she was like, well, what is it? And I was telling her about it, and she goes, you know, you're right about one thing. She was like, I don't think I would like that. I was gonna give it to her when I was done with it, but anyway, so she was going on a walk, so I just sat down here, and I was listening to Flame and Fortune, the 22nd or the 23rd book in the Miss Fortune series, and I was just kind of sitting out here. It's actually, it's cold, but it's refreshing. It feels pretty good. As you can see, I still haven't taken my Christmas stuff in. My plan is to do that tomorrow because the trash comes on Thursday. So I'm gonna put the wreath in the trash, and then these things. So my neighbor across the street, if you can see, she took the pine cones and the holly berries and stuff out of it. So because she wanted to use it for next year. So she took those out, which I was like, hey, get some use out of it, you know? So anyway, so I'm taking all this stuff down, and the pillows, which, hold on a second, are still over here. The pillows are still over here. That'll be my thumbnail. Oh, my pillow just, hold on just a second. Just roll to the ground. And this pillow, I'm gonna take those covers off, and then I'm just going to leave this, being the chairs out here and stuff, until it becomes spring. And then I don't know what I'm gonna do for spring. Well, obviously get some plants and flowers and stuff. But I think last year I wanted to get, I don't even really know what the covers, I think the covers, I should still have them under here because I washed them and I kept them on. Oh no. I have these blue covers on for summer. I want to get new covers. I want to do, last year I said I was going to do like yellow or gingham print, and I didn't do that. And I really want to do that this year. So I'm going to do that this year and get the gingham print. But anyway, I was just sitting out here and I was I've been listening to Flame and Fortune today. I've been trying to get back into the mode of listening to audiobooks and reading. Every night I've been reading a little bit in my physical copy books, and I've been listening to a little bit of my audiobook, but I was like, I've been listening to like 15 minutes a day, and I was like, okay, you gotta start getting into this. So my plan is to listen to an hour a day. But like and like, see, and now here's this guy walking by right here. But when I start listening to it, I start getting into it. And so if I could really just like, I don't know, I think that I would, who is this walking down the street? She's got buckets and shovels and all kinds, what is she doing? She's got all kinds of stuff. She looks like she's like working in landscaping or something. She doesn't look like a neighbor. She looks like somebody that works here. I don't know what she does. But anyway, I think if I start listening to an hour a day, I'll get like back into the mode of, I don't know why it was so, back into the mode of listening to books. I don't know why it was so easy for me to listen that one day on the beach and just like power through that book. And then it's been hard for me to get back into it. It's actually been easier for me to get into physical copy reading. But anyway, I think also because I've just learned I feel like this is like, hold on a second, let me fix this. So I redid the settings on my camera, and so, because before it was on autofocus, and everybody told me to change autofocus so that it wouldn't go in and out of focus. So I went in and I looked at all over the camera to try to figure out how to take it so it doesn't go in and out of focus. It's still going in and out of focus. I don't know, and maybe it's just the camera. But I took it off of that. So now, it like sets at a different, anyway, it's a different setting on the camera, like when I look into it. But anyway, what was I gonna say? I don't know. Oh, but I love watching TV shows so much. So like last night, Alex came home from, he went out to dinner with his girlfriends. He came home. He got home like really early last night. He was home at like 9:30, and then he was super tired. So he was like, "I'm gonna go to bed," and he was like up in bed, just looking at TikToks and stuff. And I think well, what did I do? I sat there and I watched like the other half of the 8th episode of Traitors. And then I went upstairs and I lay down with him for a little bit, and I fell asleep, and I woke up at like, I think it was like 1 o'clock in the morning, and I was like wide awake. So I took Boo Radley out, and then he ate a little bit more of his food. And so then I got Boo Radley back, settled in bed, and then I came back downstairs and I watched the final 2 episodes of Traitors. And then I watched the first half of that new HBO Max show that's called The Last of Us. It's so good, you guys, but it's very much, I would say, like The Walking Dead. It's interesting to me that this show is starting when The Walking Dead just ended, because it's very similar to that. I wouldn't say it's zombies, but it's a similar concept, and but very sad too. Like, it reminds me kind of a little bit more of Black Summer than The Walking Dead, but I don't know why. But anyway, just the feeling of it. But I only watched the first half of it, and then it was like so late that I was like, okay, you have to go to bed, because the 9th episode of the 9th episode of Traitors was like an hour, and then the 10th episode, which was the final episode, was like an hour and 12 minutes, and then The Last of Us was like an hour and a half long for the first episode. So I will say about Traitors, I'm not going to ruin it for anybody, but the end of it, like, I didn't really realize fully I know I'm all over the place today, but let me just tell you that, like, it's cold, but how it's, like, really, like, it feels pretty good and refreshing out here. I have my Birkenstock sandals on, and even though my feet are a little cold, it's, like, they're not that bad. I'm, like, it's nice. It feels good to be outside. Sometimes I feel like I get so cooped. Do you ever feel like you get so cooped up inside that it's like, God, I just want to be outside? The Traitors show was interesting. I would say, like I said before, it was one of the best reality competition shows I've watched ever, probably, but really in a very long time. I mean, I binge watched that show in 2 days. The thing was, at the very end, I was very happy with how it ended, because, I don't know, I just was I was very ecstatic and happy with how it ended, but at the same time, like, there was kind of a sadness that went along with it, because you really realized, like, that the show was about people being really cutthroat, but that was the game, you know, and it was really about people being cutthroat and lying to each other. And so, I don't know, I just think that there were some people that were on the show that were too sensitive to be on the show, if that makes sense. My neighbor, their daughter and son-in-law just came to pick up the grandkids, and I can hear them all out in the driveway. They, like, watch their grandkids, like, 3 or 4 days a week. I can hear the kids, like, inside screaming for their mom and dad. But anyway, it's so funny because this one grandson of theirs, he has worn these cowboy boots. Like, I don't even know how they fit him. He's worn these cowboy boots for, like, the last year. Like, he's obsessed with these cowboy boots. And, like, every time I see him, if it's in the summer, he's got, like, a bathing suit on with these cowboy boots. And if it's, like, in the fall, he's got, like, sweatpants, like, tucked into these cowboy boots. And in the winter, he's got on, like, winter clothes with these cowboy boots. Like, and it's so funny because his grandma, my neighbor, she's like, he is obsessed with these cowboy boots. And everybody tells me that that's just like how kids are. They get obsessed with, like, one thing and then they wear it, which is so funny because when Carlitos was, shoot, I don't even know, like, probably 4, He went as Spider-Man one year for Halloween. But he bought his costume in like August, and it was that Spider-Man. I don't know if you guys, parents will probably know what I'm talking about that have younger kids, but it's that Spider-Man costume that has like the shirt has like the tight-fitting arms, but then like the chest looks like it's like muscles, like Spider-Man. So, oh, somebody's not happy about going home. But he got it in like late August, and he wore that thing, I mean, through like January, and then like the next 3 years he was Spider-Man, like in a row. It was so funny. He loved that Spider-Man costume so much. I just made some coffee in my new Keurig. I love this coffee cup, isn't it so pretty? I just bought I couldn't remember the brand yesterday, but it's Coleman, which I should have known. I bought a metal coffee cup so I can drink like water out of it late at night when I wake up and I'm like really like craving water. I don't know why water is always better to me like in a clay mug or like in a metal mug. I don't know why. I do know the metal mug thing. This is gonna sound so corny, but when I was a little kid, like I would watch Little House on the Prairie, and do you remember like they would go to the well to drink, if you ever watched the show, and they would have like a cup like on a, what do you call it, on a rope, and then they would like throw the rope down and like pull it up, and then they would like drink. Do you guys remember that? Okay, so I think that might be where the whole metal cup thing started for me. So yeah, so I got up and well, I don't really want to talk about this a whole lot today. This girl that was a friend of mine, beautiful young woman, who had at one point been like my sponsor sister. She and I both have the same sponsor. And I found out really late last night that she had passed away, that she had overdosed and died. So I called my sponsor and I was talking to her about it, and she was just devastated. I feel so bad for her parents. And you know, I feel like I know this is kind of like a weird switch. Like I was talking about TV shows and now I'm talking about this. I didn't even know if I was going to talk about this today in the video. Tanya knew her really well too, and I didn't know her really well, but I knew her and we did things together, and she had moved out of state, and the last time I saw her was when we went to the Halloween festival. I don't know if you guys remember that. And so she and Tanya and my sponsor went all together, and then they met Alex and I there. And I can just remember like so much hope like that she had in her eyes, you know. And my sponsor was just like gutted. She wasn't sponsoring her at the end, which doesn't matter, but she had worked off and on with her for like years. And she was like such good friends with her. And You know, I'm so grateful for my recovery. I'm so grateful for the gift of recovery that I've gotten, because so many people they don't get it, or it doesn't stick. You know, and like I can remember standing outside this one meeting with her, and talking to her, and I was like, girl, you got this. Like, you've got everything to live for. And she was like, I know. And I was like, you can do this, you know? And she'd get a little bit of time, and then she just really struggled. And what I will say to you is this: if you are out there today and you are watching this and you are struggling, or somebody that you know is struggling, but you're watching this, or you're talking about it, okay? You're breathing. You still have a chance. You still have a chance. You know, and I just think about all the people that I've lost, and they don't have a chance anymore. You know, all the people, all the wonderful people that I knew that just don't have a chance anymore. And it's the really tough reality that goes along with being in recovery. I'd actually, so I was like watching a show, and like Tanya texted me. She had seen something about it on Facebook, and then she called my sponsor, and they talked, and so then she texted me, and then I called my sponsor, and she had just like talked to her like the day before, and like they had like FaceTimed and stuff like that, and she was like, you just never know, you know, you just never know. And I think like her parents, friends of hers, the legal system, her sponsor, so many people really wanted her, you know, to be sober, and she just had everything to live for. I mean, she was just such a cool, amazing young lady. And I think, you know, like, really, if love were enough, you know, I get a lot of emails from people, and they'll say things like, you know, I love my brother so much, or I love my husband so much, or, you know, I love my sister or wife or whatever, and like, or friend, and I just want them to stay sober, and I don't know what to do, you know, and I wish they knew how much I love them. And you know, the reality is this, that if like love were enough, and I've said this in many other videos, that if love were enough, like, there would be no need for treatment programs, 12-step programs, drug courts, you know, maintenance programs, medically assisted maintenance, whatever. There, you know, she had done all of that. She had been in treatment. She had been in prison numerous times. She had been in numerous treatments. You know, she had been, I think, you know, she overdosed numerous times and was brought back. She was in and out of 12-step programs. She had family and friends that absolutely loved her. You know, she had been on all these maintenance programs, and she still couldn't get it. And I think the thing that makes me really sad is like knowing her, you know, like, and knowing the people that like it affected in her life, this ripple effect that it causes. And then you think about the fact that, you know, this number that they put out there, that every 8 minutes an opioid addict, which she was, dies she was a heroin addict, which dies in our country. But I don't really think, in all honesty, like, my heart goes really for opioid and heroin addicts, because I think it takes you from here and just boom, like, very quickly. Whereas I think, yes, people do die of alcohol and other things, but I think it takes a little bit longer. unless something tragic happens. I mean, let's just be for real. You don't see 65-year-old heroin addicts that are thriving. You just don't, you know? And so for people that are out there and they're, you know, opioid addicts or heroin addicts, I mean, it's kind of just a matter, that's what my sponsor and I were talking about. It's just a matter of time, you know? You just, you know, and the thing is like what she and I were saying is it's like, I kind of like always knew that this was a possibility. Like when anybody would like, we would, you know, be like, how's she doing or whatever, you know, like I always kind of knew that this was a possibility because she always struggled. But at the same time, like when it finally happens, and like I've said, this has happened to so many people that I've known, when it finally happens, it's like, it seems unreal. Like it seems surreal. Like, no, that can't be. Like, it can't be that happened, that actually, that she's gone. Like, it can't be. Like, it can't be, you know? Like she had so many more chances. But the reality is that this disease is so strong. It's stronger than any human being. And, I don't know. So, I just ask you if you believe in prayer, you know, to send a prayer to her friends and family and her. And most importantly, please say a prayer for the still suffering addict or alcoholic out there tonight. That maybe, you know, somebody, you know, I was talking to somebody, I know she watches this vlog, and she got a cameo from me, and I said to her, you know, in the cameo, I said, I don't want to call her out in case she doesn't want attention brought to her, but she had a 10-year sobriety birthday, and I said, you know, I said, it was told to me early on, go and plant your seed and tell your story, because you may be helping just one person out there. Just one person. You know, if in my 6.5 years of being in sobriety, if one video that I've done, or if me just existing on YouTube and telling my story, or if me just being a presence that somebody has seen that there is a sober person out there that is living a right life, that is living a life with a husband and dogs and a home and listening to silly cozy mysteries and watching stupid TV shows that make him happy, and if that existence on YouTube just makes one person have hope out there, then, you know, like, it's all worth it to me. And I've never hid from the fact that I was an alcoholic or an addict. You know, in my personal life or in my, like, public life on YouTube, I've never hid from that fact. And, I would just, you know, offer to any of you out there, you know, tell your story, plant the seed. You don't know who you're helping. And just by merely existing as a person that's sober, no matter how you do that, no matter how you stay sober today, I don't care, okay? I don't care if it's from a 12-step program. I don't care how you do it, through church or whatever, okay? Just give somebody hope that maybe they can do it too, you know, because I think one of the huge things about addiction is that there are so many people out there that are suffering silently. And I think especially family members out there that they don't know what to do. They don't know what to say. They don't know, like, if I do an intervention or, you know, if I go to this person and, there's the male guy, you know, I just had somebody recently, like somebody that's really close to me, want to talk to a family member about their drinking and addiction, and they're like really worried about them. And they said, you know, they show up to like holidays and they're just like wasted always, and like I'm really worried about them, you know. And I said, and at first I said, well, you know, would you like to go out to lunch with them, and like offer to take them out to lunch, and then I'll go with you and I'll share my story and whatever. This person knows me, the one they're worried about. And they said, you know, like, that's not actually a bad idea. I might like that. And I said, well, that's what we do. You know, like, that's basically called 12-stepping, is when we go and we just share our experience, strength, and hope. We don't coerce people into the program. It's a program of attraction, you know. And if they like what we have to say, then, you know, I'd be more than willing to take them to meetings and things like that. But the fear of approaching somebody, like this was what I was talking to them about, is like the fear of approaching somebody and saying like, I'm really worried about you because you have an addiction issue. The fear is that that person will cut you out of their life, or that person won't talk to you again, or that person will have nothing to do with you. And so they don't want to talk to you about it, right? You know, and I know that before I got sober, and when I got sober, that around that time, that I had people, that were really afraid of confronting me. I had this girl that lived in my apartment. She slept on my couch for a while. I think she stayed there for like 2 months. And really, she was a pain in my ass, if you want to know the truth. And, but she was a very dear friend of mine. But she just, like, took up a lot of space. And I never felt like I had any privacy and whatnot, right? So, you know, this was at the time that I was like going out all the time. This was towards the end before I got sober, and I was going out all the time, and then I would come home and I would drink, and I would drink in my bedroom, and I would watch movies late at night because she was sleeping on the couch, you know, and like a normal person, she had a job she had to get up for, and so I would go in the bedroom, and you know what, I mean, it just was a mess. And so anyway, one day I came home and she was like moving her stuff out, and oh, Valerie's calling me. One day I came home and she was like moving her stuff out, and I said, what are you doing? And she was like, I'm moving out. And I said, and I mean, to be honest with you, my attitude inside my head was kind of like good riddance, because I mean, I was a selfish, self-centered addict that just wanted my own place, and I just wanted her out. And so I was like, well, why are you moving out? And I'll never forget this. She looked at me and she said, you know, something to the effect of, she was like, your life is like out of control, and I'm really worried about you, and if you don't get some help, I'm going to end up having to go to your dad if you don't go to your dad, because nobody is like really knows what's going on with you, and I think your dad is the only person that cares. My mom was like in her own addiction at that time, and people knew that, and so she was like, and I'm going to have to go to your dad and say something, whatever. And I think this was literally like the week before I went into treatment, because I ended up going into treatment, and I was like, let me tell you something, you effing B, blah, 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 blah. I mean, I can remember cussing her down the stairs, and I was like, don't you ever go to my father and say anything, and blah, 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 and I have been a good friend to you. And I mean, I threatened the hell out of her, and that's what addicts do, right? And I was like, I gave you a place to stay, I didn't charge you any money, you couldn't afford rent, blah, 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 blah. And I mean, I cussed her. She was like bawling her eyes out and all this kind of stuff. You know, several years after that, I reached out to her and I said, I'm so thankful to you. You were the only friend that was, hold on, what's she texting me? Hold on a second. Just in case it's something that she needs to talk to me about. No, she said, what are you doing? Hold on a second, let me tell her I'm vlogging. Several years later, I reached out to her because she moved cities and stuff like that, and we weren't really that much in contact anymore. It must have been when Facebook came around, because I was friends. We friended each other on Facebook, and I said, I just want you to know, and to this day, I feel this way. To this day, I feel this way. I said, I want you to know that you were literally one of the only people that was like looking out for me, and I mean, you were willing to put our friendship on the line, or anything that I thought about you, at the expense of saving my life. Like, I don't know that you have any idea how much that means to me in retrospect. And she was so sweet, and she like wrote me back, and she was like, you know, I loved you, and I cared about you, and I was worried about you, and you know, you were gonna die. I knew you were gonna die. Like, things were really, really bad had you not gotten treatment. And she was like, I'm so grateful that you're, you know, sober today, and things like that. So yeah, that was like, because nobody would really say anything, because I think that's what addicts and alcoholics do, is we set up, I mean, we talk about boundaries. We set up these toxic boundaries with people that if you come towards me or my addiction at all, I'm going to go on the defensive, and I am going to come for you, okay? And I'm going to make sure that, you know, whatever, you know, and, like, I've seen that in so many situations, you know? I mean, I can tell you right now, I've seen friends of mine that have gotten sober. My feet are starting to get a little bit cold. I've seen friends of mine that have gotten sober and been sober for a very long time. And, you know, like, when you get sober, it's like you start becoming back to, like, the good-hearted person that you were before, and you're working on stuff. And it's like you laugh about, you know, funny, haha, normal stuff. And you're a genuine human being. You're not this nasty, lying, it stopped. You know, this last nasty, lying, conniving, cheating, manipulative person that you used to be, right? When I tell you that I've had some people in my life that, like, have gone back out, and, I mean, their behavior is night and day. Like, I can't even explain to you, like, how the things they say are so hurtful and so just, I mean, to the gut hurtful, you know? I'm gonna have to go put some boots on. Hold on just a second. Okay, I'm back. But yeah, like, I've had friends of mine that, like, I mean, you know, I can remember being... When did my one friend go back out? My one friend went back out when I would have been about... Well, I know. So, she had 21 years, so I would have had 20, because she was a year ahead of me. So I was 20 years sober, and she went back out. And I reached out to her about something to do with somebody that we were very, very close with. And her response to me was so hurtful. And, I mean, this was somebody that I had been diehard friends with 18 years, you know? Like, really dear friends with. Knew their kids, knew everything. I mean, first of all, the fact of the matter that somebody goes out after that much time is testament to the fact of how serious this disease is, you know? And the truth of that is they had stopped going to meetings. They had stopped, they didn't have a sponsor for a very long time. They weren't working steps. I think one of the things that's really interesting, like when Tanya and I talk about, like, maybe what led this person back out, is that their neighbors previous always knew that they were sober. And then there became a moment when their neighbors no longer knew that they were sober. And they started hanging out with their neighbors nightly. You know, like, and at first they weren't drinking, but then they started drinking with their neighbors and stuff like that. And I think it's when you start trying to kind of, like, hide from the truth. Like, the one thing is, I've always been really honest with everybody in my life. I don't care who it is, you know, my endodontist to, you know, what the pharmacist, to my friends, to family, to whatever, about being in recovery. There's the male guy on the other side. And I think it's important to be that transparent. Now, I know that some people with, like, their jobs and things don't feel comfortable doing that, and I totally get that. I understand that, which is why, you know, these are anonymous programs. I 100% get that. But, like, I've had several people that I have been friends with that have gone back out, and, like, after they've gone back out, I mean, they're just ruthless. You know, and so what I'll tell you is, if you're getting that kind of response from an addict or an alcoholic in your life, know this: it's not personal. It's the disease speaking to you. You know, and I know that doesn't make a lot of sense to people, but it really is. I mean, I don't know that those people would talk to you that way if they weren't using, you know. And it's really about protecting. If you live with an addict or an alcoholic, okay, let's say if you live with somebody, an alcoholic, let's just say that, and you think they drink too much, and you've kind of brought it up here and there, like, hey, can you maybe, like, not drink as much tonight? And they go on the defensive, and they say, look, what do you mean not drink too much tonight? Like, why, you got an issue with my drinking? Like, I mean, I only have a couple beers a night, when you know that they're having 10 or 15 beers a night, right? Okay, so you've brought it up kind of, like, over a period of time, and then maybe one time you say something to them like, you know, I really think your drinking is out of control, and it's, like, hardcore. Like, that's the disease speaking, right? Like, when they go hardcore and they're like, okay, so now you really think I have a problem. I mean, that's what they're saying. The disease is saying, back up, because I'm not going to quit using, right? I remember when I got sober, my aftercare counselor, who happened to also be my inpatient counselor, she said every day, it's like the angel and the devil on your shoulders, that every day that your sober person in your shoulder is getting stronger, your addict is getting stronger too, and whispering in your ear, it's okay to use, it's okay to use, it's okay to use, it's okay to use. And that's the battle, you know, of every day of being, you know, this sober person. Breaks my heart, you know. You know, what do? You pick up the pieces, I guess, and move on. you know, my sponsor and I, when we were talking last night, I mean, she was so close with this girl, like really, really close with her. And, you know, we at some point in the conversation kind of like turned off of like talking about her, and we were talking about like other things. And so she was talking about hanging out with these women that she knows in recovery. And I was like, now, because I had met them at her Halloween party, and I was like, now, how long do they have? And she was like, well, this one has like 32 years, and this one has like 34 years. And, you know, I think about that, you know, and it's not just people that have long-term sobriety, you know, but like, the power of how much can change in 1 year, you know, or 30 days, or 6 months. And then you think an entire life. You know, I've been alive for 50 years, 28 of those I've been sober for. 28 years of what my life would have never looked like if I hadn't gotten sober. And I don't know. She'd actually been the first one kind of in, I'm trying to think of like the last time that, I mean, there's always somebody, like I would say like every month or so, that it's not as often now as it used to be, but it's still, well, first of all, because the meetings that I go to are mostly like older people, you know, that, so, and, you know, so I'm not going to meetings where there's like tons and tons of like young newcomers. I think it might be different, like when I was going to 5 meetings a week, and I was going to like a lot of meetings where there were newcomers and whatever. I mean, I like all the time was hearing about like, oh, this person overdosed or this person overdosed. And people were overdosing in halfway houses, and people were overdosing at home and on home passes, and, you know, just at work. And I mean, it just was, oh my God, it was like, I felt like every 2 or 3 days I'd hear about somebody. It's been a little while. And like I said, I've said this in videos before, you know, I think it's important to know too, like, in the past year I had 2 sponsors that passed away, but they were sober when they passed, you know, and people do die sober in recovery, they do, and people live amazing lives sober and just happen to die of old age and other things that happen, you know. My one sponsor, he died of lung cancer, and it was like the 3rd time that he had it. And my other sponsor, you know, was a complication of things. And so, and he was older as well. They were both older, you know, and had long-term sobriety, had great, my one sponsor had 40 years, you know, like had like right around 40 years. My other sponsor, I think he had, so my friend that went back out, she was a year more than me, and then he had 2 more years than me. So he would have had 30 years this year, you know, and that's amazing, you know, that there are people out there that I think, you know, like I think about my mom, you know, that my mom was 12 years and 11 months short. I say 12 years and 11 months because she was a month shy of being 13 years sober. This is going out of focus, I can tell. She was a month shy of being 13 years sober. And at her funeral, her sponsor even asked me if I wanted her 13-year coin. And my mom was so hardcore about we don't borrow time in recovery, because she wanted to know if I wanted to like bury it with her or whatever. And I was like, no. I think I don't remember what happened with the coin or whatever, but I was like, no. My mom was like kind of a stickler for, you know, you don't borrow time in the program. She was like, oh, I totally understand. But, you know, like, I think about the fact that, like, my mom had 12 years and 11 months sober. That's a long, long time, you guys. You know, that was 12 years and 11 months that I got to spend with my mom that I never would have had. Our relationship was so sick and so twisted and toxic and chaotic. I mean, we fought all the time. And it was mostly around alcohol, you know, and mine or hers. And, I mean, it was these fueled fights. Not to say that we didn't never fight, because we did sometimes, but, you know, I mean, it wasn't like that. It wasn't like we couldn't talk. I mean, my mom and I would fight, and then, like, we'd call each other in a half an hour, be like, I'm so sorry, you know, like, but previous to that, it was, like, just ugly. And, you know, we were able to have this amazing relationship that I'm so grateful for. I'm so thankful for, you know, that, I never would have had she and I not gotten sober. I think that's probably one of the greatest gifts I've ever received as a result of my sobriety, you know? I think the relationships that I've had, the romantic relationships I've had, the relationships I've had with Tanya and my sponsors and the other friends that I have, like, I mean, I would never have met these people had I not been sober, you know? I would never have met Melissa and Jason or Alex, you know? I never would have met Alex, you know, if I had not been sober. And, it's funny, the girl that I met Alex with, she just got married today, and I was out at a, well, I didn't meet him that day, but when I saw him originally, and at that time, she did not know the girl that she married today. I was friends with that girl, but she didn't know that girl, which is so funny. And then down the road, they became friends and well, I don't know, became friends. They started dating, and they've been dating forever now, and they got married today. And I think they're having like a ceremony and stuff. Like, I don't really talk to them much anymore, but I think they're having like a small ceremony and stuff like that. But I just sent her a message, and I was like, oh my God, congrats. It's so exciting. Small world, isn't it? Small world. And I think for me, like, that's when it's about appreciating, you know, those moments. And I think that's why for me it's about, like, I know this sounds corny, but the importance of wanting to get back to listening to cozy mysteries, or sitting in a chair and watching a TV show late at night, or, you know, laying in bed with Alex while he watches TikToks, because those are the moments that truly matter to me, you know, those little small moments, you know, or coming upstairs to a made bed, you know, or like tonight, going to a meeting with my good Judy Toddy Najeen and getting a fountain pop afterwards or something, you know, like, those are the moments that mean the most to me. So, and I'm grateful for those moments. Anyway, thank you guys so much for listening to me tonight and hanging out with me on the front porch. Even though it was cold, it was refreshing. And I love you guys so much. I want you to know how much I appreciate you, each and every single one of you. I love you. And I'm really, really grateful for all of you. And so I hope that you're having a magically amazing Tuesday. If nobody else has told you this today, I love you. Remember these 3 very important things. 1, you can start your day over whenever you want. 2, practice random acts of kindness, but don't tell anyone. And 3, most importantly, make sure that you reach out to somebody and let them know how much they mean to you. And I really mean this one today. There is somebody out there in your life that really needs to hear from you today. Please, I'm begging you, reach out to somebody and let them know that you're thinking of them. There's somebody out there that's just really needs to hear from you. And be kinder to one another, love one another a little bit more, and be kinder and love yourselves a little bit more. And I love you guys, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye. Love you.